Welcome. So in this lesson, we're going to learn about activities. When it comes down to it, an activity is really just a single screen. So it seems pretty simple, but there's a few things that we should know. The first is we're going to be building apps with multiple activities. And when you only have one, clearly that's the one that's launched. But if you have multiple ones, which one gets launched? So it's worth mentioning that that inside your Android manifest, you have your activities there, and the activity that gets launched is the one that has an intent filter on it that is main, right? So that's like saying just a flag to know which one is the main one. And it's probably a good time to mention that by setting intent filters appropriately, you can actually have other apps call your activity. Right, so apps can be sort of built mix and match from different activities, and we're going to be using some of the system ones in a bit, but we could also turn it around and let other apps use our stuff. So for instance, if we were to actually write an email app, right, and people said go ahead and compose an email, then we could even see our app showing up right here alongside of Gmail and Inbox and some others. So really kind of neat, even though we're not going to be doing much of that here. Activities, and again, we've seen some of this, but activities are managed according to a very well-defined life cycle. Right. So what happens when you start up an app and we hit the one that's the main activity? What actually happens here? So first thing is that onCreate gets called, right? And we're very used to filling in the details of onCreate. But it's also worth mentioning that onStart and onResume also get called pretty much immediately, very, very fast time between each other. And so it's going to be created and become visible and then be sort of in the running state here. So what we'd call resumed. Now, if our activity is obscured or something like that, so it's not totally visible here, then it goes into a pause state. And that means here that this onPause method is going to be called. And that's the perfect place for you to make sure that if the user was interacting in some way with the UI and we need to save some state, we can do that in onPause. And we saw that in an earlier lab. If you've been working through these in our Jersey app, we actually saved off some information. Right, and then when it's resumed, then it calls on resume again. Okay. If it's actually going to be totally hidden, then it's stopped. So if you wanted to you can actually implement onStop, release memory and do some more intensive things. And when it's finally, if it were totally blown away, there is an onDestroy method. But honestly, the ones that we're going to use most of the time in here are going to be onCreate and also onPause, again, to save persistent data, right, when we leave the screen. Okay. And again, however we want to save that information kind of depends on the app. We've seen shared preferences. We could also persist it in SQLite. Maybe we could even write it up to cloud storage. There's a few different things that we could do. Okay? The other place that we've seen the activity lifecycle, although we haven't written the onPause method in that case, was that when you rotate your screen. Okay, because when we do system rotation, there's actually another thing. So it actually it's going to save off instance state in a bundle with some information that can come back when it's recreated. Remember, when you rotate a screen, it actually has to destroy it and recreate the entire activity because maybe you have a different layout or whatever, so it needs to know to look for that other layout. So it's going to call onCreate again, and that takes a bundle as a parameter. So whatever you save when you're rotating is going to come back in onCreate here. There's also a restore instance state that's also called, that also takes a bundle. It's really your choice which one you use. So that's all we have for this lesson. See you later.